Hello everyone and welcome back to the Hokkaiden Gaijin. My name is Andrew Tormenti and I'm here to tell you about my life in Japan and to give you tips and tricks if you decide to do so yourself, or even if you're just trying to visit. I'm also here to tell you about Hokkaido and why I believe it's the best place in Japan. Now today's episode is going to be all about your second day in Japan and what you're going to do if you decide to move here. Now this can also be applied to if you are just going to come here for a visit, but this is generally directed towards those who are looking to move to Japan. Now there are going to be some things that you need to do on your second day in Japan or as soon as you get here. And depending on what type of job you have, you could get assistance from your company, or in some cases, you have to do them on your own. And I hope that these tips that I can give you today will help you out in case you have to do it on your own. Now, the second day I was in Japan, I was given the advice by none other than The Only in Japan by Daub. Daub was able to give me advice in one of his live streams that he was doing where he was hitchhiking from the most southern point of Japan all the way to the most up north point. And he told me that I need to make sure on my second day to go to the ward office and get all my documents and health insurance and bank account stuff all situated. Luckily for me, Interact, of course, had someone who was able to take me to all these different locations, including to the main office to get my cell phone, to the ward office to help me with the various documents and stuff you had to do there, as well as go to a bank to get my bank account all set up. Now, the first stop that I was being taken to was the Interact headquarters in Sapporo. Now, this was pretty much one of the head north branches headquarters for the company, and this is where I got my cell phone situated. Now, if you're not going through your company's cell phone program, if they have or have not one, you typically go through the holy trinity of telecom providers, which in Japan is SoftBank, Docomo, and au. But it's really just these two, because I've actually never met anyone who has an au phone plan. Now, I typically went with SoftBank for my first Interact phone plan, and that's just the provider they went with, and it had pretty good service. Though, however, when I moved down to Tokyo in later years, I ended up going with a Docomo provider. And when I say Docomo provider, I mean it was a third party. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about a company called Sakura Mobile. Sakura Mobile is the phone company that I ended up going with. It's a third-party company that goes through Docomo's like lines, and it has a lot of English-friendly services that's month-by-month contracts instead of, being locked into a 2-year. Because with those other ones, if you're going directly through the company, you're pretty much locked in a 2-year contract without, having to pay a fee, and that could suck. However, if you're going through Sakura Mobile, you can cancel your account at any time after the provided month is finished. And that's really good for people who are just visiting Japan, and they typically have some promotions and stuff for those who are just coming to Japan short-term, even just for a trip. They offer not just phone plans, but also some pocket Wi-Fi that you can get. And I believe you can also have it sent to the airport waiting for you for the moment you arrive in Japan. So it's pretty helpful. So if you guys are looking for a phone company to go through, if you're just visiting or even moving to Japan, Sakura Mobile is a pretty good one that you should check out. I'll provide a link in the description below to their website. Now moving on to the next topic, which is heading to the ward office. So your town office or town city hall is an area you're going to be going to frequently, especially if you decide to move to different cities in Japan, because not only you have to go there and register your address, you have to deregister, then go to the next place and register wherever you may move. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys, this is the process that you typically have to go through. When you get to the ward office, depending on the city or town you live in, they may or may not have English translations for directions and signs telling you where to need to go. Now, Sapporo does in fact have those, but I was also lucky enough to have someone from Interact to be able to help guide me and take me to where I need to go. And while you're in your city hall, you're pretty much setting up things for like health insurance, your address registration, which is kind of what tells you your city tax for next year, which luckily as a first year in Japan, you don't have to pay city tax. That's something you don't have to worry about. But where you lived the year before is what contributes to what your city tax will be. So if I live in Sapporo one year, the first year I moved to Japan, but then say I moved to Obihiro, which is also in Hokkaido, I would be still paying the city tax for Sapporo that year I lived in Obihiro. But my first year in Japan, I'm not paying anything because I didn't live anywhere that year before. Now, however, besides those things, you also will set up your health insurance, which with Japan, they have a national health insurance if your company doesn't provide it. And besides that, all that's left you need to set up is your pension. But your pension is something that's set up in a different office. And I highly suggest you go and do that. Interact says I didn't generally have to worry about signing up for pension, as I think they believe that most people with their company aren't going to stay in Japan long term. However, I did stay longer than 1 year, even 2 years for that matter. And you really need to sign up for it. You're getting billed even if you're not paying it. Even though I wasn't signed up for pension for a while, I was still getting charged for it. So you need to go ahead and find your pension office wherever it may be in your town or city, and you need to sign up for it. It's an extra 15,000 to 16,000 yen a month, but it's worth it to go ahead and just get that out of the way, because they will, find you or eventually catch up with you. Now, moving on to our third and final topic for what you need to do on your second day in Japan, before we get to the more fun things you can do in your second day in Japan, is getting your bank account set up. Now, once again, I had help setting up my bank account, but the bank that I suggest that you sign up for when you first get to Japan is none other than JP Post Bank. JP Post Bank is, of course, ran by the post office. I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory. But the cool thing about JP Post Bank is it works nationwide. Now, I know that kind of sounds weird when I say that, but Japan, they have many prefectural and town-specific banks. And if you go to other parts of Japan or you move, your bank might not really work there. So, in my opinion, JP Post is good for anyone who is just moving to Japan or even might be planning to eventually move around. It's always good to just have in case you do move around, even if you do decide to get one of the other banks in your area. But, however, if you are planning to stay more centralized in a specific prefecture or even city, I do advise to go out to those more central bank accounts. However, I do think it's always good to have a JP Post account in case you are planning to travel. Go ahead and take the money out you want for your travel from one bank account and put it in your JP Post, and you're ready to be able to use it all across the nation. It's also pretty easy to set up. You kind of just walk in, you ask for a new bank account, and they will give you the forms, and you fill it out, and all is right as rain. It is pretty simple. And last but not least is exploring your town and city. Exploring things around your town and city can be super exciting. Before I moved to Sapporo, I was going online, watching videos, and seeing what I would love to do in Japan. What I really wanted to do was go to Ganso Ramen Yokocho, which literally translates out to the original ramen alley. And my favorite ramen place that I went to that day was called Anji no Karyu, which is a very, very famous restaurant, and man, is that ramen delicious. It's 1,600 yen, which can be very pricey, but that butter, that corn, that miso ramen is so delicious. And the Hokkaido crab in there adds extra flavor. After I had a delicious lunch, I went to the arcade in Tanuki Koji. I had always wanted to go to a Japanese arcade and be able to play the games that I've been researching and having fun just watching videos on, and I wanted to try for myself, particularly Dragon Ball Heroes. And I was finally able to play it, and it was so much fun. Now, I did call Tanuki Koji Kendoki Doji for a long time. Yeah, I'm a Persona fan. Last but not least, and what I forgot to mention is I was given the offer by the guy who helped me with Interact to take me back home, or he just asked me if I wanted to explore the city. I told him I wanted to explore the city. Yeah, this was a big mistake. I have a story about me being lost in Japan on my second day, and it went something like this. Oh, that was a lot of fun and some really good ramen. Well, it's time to go back home. All right, let me see. Here we go. Got my address right here. Let me see. Okay, got my phone. Yes. All right, let's type it right in. Oh, it doesn't show up. Oh gosh. It doesn't show up because it's not the English, or it's not the... It doesn't show up because it's not the Japanese. Okay, Google Earth. I remember looking it up, Google Earth. Okay, let's go this way. Okay.
2 hours later.
Oh my gosh, I don't know where I'm at. I am lost in Japan on my second day. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Later.
Konnichiwa, konbanwa. Sorry, no Japanese. Where is this? Where? Asoko. Thank you. Arigatou gozaimashita. Yeah, it was that bad. My Japanese was that bad. But boy, yeah, if I was lost for 2 hours, that was one of the most scariest times of my life. I had just moved to a country, I don't know how to speak the language, and I don't know where I am. So, thankfully, I was pretty close, actually. Me remembering off of Google Earth and all my studying of where my apartment was in conjunction to where Ramen Alley and where Tanuki Koji was actually pretty helpful for me. And even though I came close, it was really nice that the old man at the gas station was able to help. And I got home and I took a bath, and boy, did I just relax the rest of the evening. But that was it. That was my second day in Japan, and those are the tips and tricks on what you need to do. Now, the things you need to make sure you have sorted out, once again, is make sure your ward office stuff is completed, make sure your bank is situated, and make sure you have your phone all sorted out. Now, besides those, with your studying of your surroundings and stuff, make sure you find some places that you're very interested in going to. But of course, last but not least, and this is what I would do differently, I would have taken his advice or taken his offer and gone home first. And I would have marked on my phone the place that I lived, and then I would have went out to those certain areas because they're more accessible even through writing in English. And yeah, that is the only real thing I would have done differently, because everything else I was pretty planned out, but ultimately not good enough. And that's my second day in Japan, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Hokkaiden Gaijin. If you liked today's episode, please hit it with a thumbs up. And if you want to keep up with more news on the Hokkaiden Gaijin, please hit that subscribe and bell, as it really supports the channel and it'll notify you when you guys get a new video for you to see. If you have any questions on today's topic, please go ahead and put a comment below, or if you have any questions about Japan in general. I'm the Hokkaiden Gaijin, and I will see you guys next time.